That Greek chap Sisyphus, doomed to spend every day pushing a boulder up a hill only for the gods to roll it back to the bottom every evening, fits the bill perfectly as the patron saint of Sky Blues supporters. We've grown used down the years to big occasions falling flat. Who can forget November 2010 when 28,000 fans turned up to watch 80 Boothroyd side take on Leeds in a game which could have made them frontrunners in the championship promotion race. In the event, the Northerners won 3-2, sparking a dramatic downturn in form and results which ultimately led to the Gaffer's premature departure. And there was the 2013 Johnstone's Paint Trophy semi-final, just before the end of Mark Robbins's first spell in charge, when over 31,000 fans filled the Ricoh near enough to the brim only for Crewe Alexandra to plunder an unassailable 3-0 lead to take back to Gresty Road. Although the gate for the first round of the League Two playoff against Notts County didn't reach those dizzying heights, there would have been more than a few glass-half-empty vets in the respectable 17,404 crowd steeling themselves for another dollop of disappointment. But although a 1-1 draw was, as Stephen Pressley might well have said in the circumstances, not ideal, the hardcore heading for Meadow Lane on Friday should be full of optimism for the second leg. Why Coventry City fans can ditch the pessimism. The National View. Coventry City rescued a late draw against Notts County at the Ricoh Arena on Saturday. Mark McNulty's penalty cancelled out Jonathan Forte's opener to make it 1-1 at the halfway stage of the League Two playoff semi-final. The eyes of League Two and beyond will now be on Meadow Lane come Friday evening as Sky Blues look to reach Wembley. Here's how the national media, and the Nottingham Post, covered the game. The Sun, Coventry City pulled off a last splash-and-grab job thanks to their Scottish strike sensation Mark McNulty. But Notts County boss Kevin Nolan will be fuming at the penalty that never was. Coventry snatched a late leveler when ref Gavin Ward pointed to the spot after Matt Doodle slid in to dispossess Coventry midfielder Tom Bayliss in the box. However, TV replays showed the Magpies defender had taken the ball cleanly and Ward was surrounded by a posse of furious county players who claimed they had been robbed. Amid the mayhem, McNulty remained the coolest head in the Ricoh to calmly send Adam Collin the wrong way from the spot to net his 27th goal of an extraordinary season. Read the full article here. Robbins in full. Mark Robins was relatively pleased with Coventry City's showing in the first leg of their playoff encounter with Notts County. Two teams played out a 1-1 draw and will do battle again next week for a place in the final at Wembley. Here's every word from Robins' post-match press conference. Key findings: just 90, possibly 120, minutes of football stand between Coventry City and a place at Wembley for the second consecutive season. The Sky Blues played out a 1-1 draw with Notts County at the Ricoh Arena yesterday and head to Meadow Lane looking to clinch a spot in the playoff final. Here are Andy Turner's findings from the League Two playoff first leg. Home numbers down despite the option of watching the game in dry comfort and the far from ideal kickoff time demanded by Sky's patronage. A decent walk-up and a healthy contingent of 2,756 traveling supporters produced the gate of 17,404 and there was an electric atmosphere at the start. Just over 15,000 home fans turned out for last week's game against Morecambe, who brought 748 of their own, but, interestingly, there were 14,648 Sky Blues fans at the game against County, some 478 fewer than watched them get into the playoffs against the Shrimps 7 days earlier. However, the splash-and-go pace kept the fans on their vocal toes throughout the first half, and although City spent most of the second playing catch-up, a couple of late chances ensured that this wasn't one of those big Ricoh nights that fell flat. defying the conditions. The pitch, problematic for much of the season, looked in great nick at 6:30 p.m., but by kickoff time it was thoroughly saturated, conditions tailor-made for mistakes and mistimed tackles. The surface almost dictated a Route 1 approach, which is more County's forte, not to say forte, than City's, but the Sky Blues tried to play their football from the start and, even more admirably, until the end. That should hold them in good stead for Friday's return fixture when Mark Robbins's men can make the short trip to Nottingham, confident that they have the footballing edge, if not necessarily the brawn to go with it. Leading the charge was the precocious talent that is Tom Bayliss, who was a handful for the opposition all evening. Psychological advantage. The time-honored cliché in two-leg affairs reminds us that it's only half-time, and although County probably consider themselves a fraction ahead on psychological points, there's certainly everything to play for as we head into round 2. The general consensus was that the Sky Blues were bullied in the league match at Meadow Lane, but they didn't look remotely intimidated this time. They were unlucky not to make home advantage count with a vital early breakthrough as they produced a couple of superb moves. And although Forte's opener was an exquisite piece of Messi-esque improvisation, the setup, which temporarily took the wind out of City's sails, was certainly down to the standing water on the flanks. Dan Jones not so much sliding as surfing into the challenge, which won the ball from Jack Grimmer. Evened out, the home fans thought they got the rough end of the referee's stick for much of the game, and while, yes, they would, wouldn't they, they did have a point. Chris Stokes booked for a foul that was surely down to the conditions, and Michael Doyle carded for understandable dissent after Mark McNulty was balked as he ran onto a through ball, only for Mr. Ward to rule against the City striker. But any shortchanging there was repaid with interest late on as Tom Bayliss coaxed the softest of penalties from Matt Tootle and gave McNulty the chance to plunder his 27th goal of the season from the spot. Cool and clinical, with 4 minutes to go, City's leading scorer picked up the ball and placed it on the spot in one of those nail-biting moments where some dare not watch. But the Scot rarely misses a free-hit goal and, as such, instilled a great deal of confidence that he'd stick it away to keep the tie very much alive. McNulty was calm, composed and clinical as he sent the keeper the wrong way and further endeared himself to the Sky Blue supporters. He's scored some terrific goals this season, but few as important as this one may turn out to be.